Hello everybody and welcome to today's Collaboard webinar. I'm looking forward to tell you more about how to master the challenges of online meetings and workshops by using an online whiteboard like Collaboard. I created a short agenda and I think we jumped to the wrong thing. Sorry, we need to go up here again. Okay, so I prepared a short agenda. So first of all, we will look at the main challenges people and companies face when they do remote meetings and workshops. Then we will have a look at the advantages an online whiteboard provides when we do these kind of activities. We will also look at the facilitator tools in Collaboard, which are designed to orchestrate what's happening on the whiteboard during an online workshop. And we also have a look at some examples for onboarding and icebreaker exercise. This is mainly when people are new to online whiteboards. How can you onboard them? How can you make this easy? And we will show several best practices that help you when you prepare a board. So you take care about let's say the main challenges, but you also can get faster in creating boards because you know some tips and tricks how to do this. So that's our agenda. And if we look at the challenges people have when organizing online workshops and meetings, often is that participants, they are new to the technology. So they might never really worked with an online whiteboard. So you need to take care that they have a good onboarding experience and you teach them all the things they need to know to participate in your workshops. Often a meeting is done by organizing a call via an audio and video conference solution, and then people are sharing the screen. And maybe you choose then to interact, so you switch between screen sharing and interaction, and this is not a really seamless experience. So we are looking to solve this problem so we can present and interact almost at the same time, or just switch very easily and seamlessly. When we use an online whiteboard, these boards can become very big. So let's say you prepare a workshop that's not just 1 hour, but maybe 2 days. So you either create a lot of different boards or you create one big board. And then usually there is the challenge that people don't find their ways around big boards because they don't know where things are. So we need a solution to this problem as well. Another challenge is when you work with videos. So in a screen sharing context, when you share a video, then sometimes it's a little bit delayed for the attendees. It's not the best quality. So I will show you how we can solve this with Collaboard. And then, of course, everything you do is time consuming online. So rating ideas is time consuming, prioritizing tasks. And these challenges, we can overcome these challenges by using an online whiteboard. And in today's session, I will show you mainly how this can be done. So if you look at an online whiteboard and what advantages we have when we use Collaboard, for example, we are able to have a place where we can co-create together. So all the attendees in your meeting and workshop can join the whiteboard and then collaborate visually in real time. If these are small groups or large groups, this doesn't really matter. If you have large groups, either you create one big board or you have multiple boards where people collaborate together. But the idea of an online whiteboard is really to have a place where everybody can participate. So we encourage all the attendees to participate, and the big advantage is that not everybody needs to speak to really create something during the meeting. This is very good because also introverts or people that don't like to speak out now in an online meeting in front of a big group, they can create content in an easy way. An online whiteboard is also a new way to present something. It's different than just showing one slide after another. So it gives you more freedom to present because when you have all the content on the online whiteboard, you can easily move between them, and we will show we will have a look at this afterwards, how you can use one of the features in Collaboard to really create cool presentations. Another advantage of Collaboard are the facilitator tools. So we did a lot to make them seamlessly available, to make them easy to use. So you really can start working with these tools, orchestrating what's happening during your workshops and online meetings. I also present to you a solution how you can switch seamlessly between presenting and interacting with your attendees in Collaboard with just one click. Another advantage is that Collaboard is easy accessible via the browser. So your attendees, they don't need to download a software to interact. They just need a modern web browser, and it's fairly easy to use. So when you start working with Collaboard, you will see it's not overloaded with thousands of features. So the things are here that are really needed, and the things that are, let's say, special are only available to the facilitators, or are not just, let's say, crowding the user interface with too many buttons. So with these settings about the challenges and the solutions for the online meetings and workshop, we will dig in now to some specific functionality on Collaboard. So we'll have now a look at these tools for the facilitators, for the trainers and the teachers. These are the specific tools that help us to orchestrate what's happening during an online meeting on the online whiteboard. The first thing we usually need to do is we need to invite people to collaborate. So in Collaboard, you can do this by clicking on this button here, where you have this share project option. And if you click here, you can invite now people by email, or you can create a link for registered people, or you can create a link for anybody with access where no sign up is required. Just on a side note, for us, security is very important. This is why we also provide Collaboard hosted in Europe, for example. We also offer on-prem hosting. And what you see here, when you invite somebody, you can also say how long the link shall be valid. You can protect a board by the password. And when you create this link and invite somebody, then these people usually access your board on a very specific location. So every board has a center. And when you invite somebody by link, then the people are always directed to the center. To see how we can find the center, let's just create a new board. So I'm just opening now a second tab, and we create here a new board. And what I can do in this case here, I can click on the upper right on this grid. This grid is very nice when you want to, let's say, organize things, when you want to make sure that all the distances of your elements are accurate. And you also see here in the middle, there is this small black dot. And basically, this is the center of your project. So if you invite somebody to a Collaboard project, make sure that you have here some content. Maybe it's a welcome message, maybe you already create some content they can interact with, but this is usually the place where people land when you invite them by link. When people access the board, one challenge we have seen is that people maybe don't find everything at the beginning. So what you can do here is you can display a minimap. And on this minimap, you can navigate and you see where all these elements are. And now for you as a facilitator, it's important to know where the people are on the whiteboard. And it would be very time consuming to tell the other people, hey, let's start a screen sharing session so I know where you are. So there is a much easier way to do that. So basically we can just display the mouse pointers of other people. And if I activate this now, then we see there is here Albert in this project and also Michael. And we see in this case as well Michael's mouse pointer, which is here now moving on the board. And this gives you a complete different feeling about what your people are doing. So For example, if a mouse pointer is moving at all, then you know people are not interacting with the content. And of course, it is very useful because then you know where people are on the board by just displaying their mouse pointer. So if somebody is lost, you can just see where he is and then start guiding him on the board. This is one way how to do that. And important message here is when you invite people, they are always coming to the center of the board. Another element of the facilitator tools are the quick links. So quick links are really nice, for example, when you want to create a meeting agenda. And it helps participants to navigate on the board. The quick links are an option to help you in doing a nice presentation. And let me show you how you can create the quick link. So basically we just can select a group of objects. So I'm using here now this area select. We select all these objects. And now what we can do is we can click here on these three dots to add a quick link. But to do that, we need to have the facilitator role in Collaboard. And you see now here, I have here this facilitator tools. And now if I want to add a quick link, I just click here and say new quick link, for example. And now we mark this region on the board as a link. And to access the quick links, we provide here this navigation icon. It looks a little bit like a compass. And if you click on here, you see now all these quick links we already created on this board. And the beautiful thing is now you can just, by double clicking, you jump to this region on the board immediately. So that's a nice way to guide people here. And when you look at these quick links, you can use these arrows to rearrange them. So maybe your agenda changes, then you can do it like this. Or you can also use here the drag and drop to just move it around the board as well. If you want to create this kind of flying presentations, you need some more quick links. And let's make an example. So I want to add some more quick links here. So we just move up on this board and let's say we create a first quick link, which is here for this agenda. So we say this is number 1. Then we create a second quick link, which is for the challenges of the online meetings and workshops. And we create a third quick link, just that you see how this is working, to use here the advantages of the online whiteboard. This is now our third one. So when we created these quick links, we see them, they are now added here as well, as these are the last ones. We see 1, 2, and 3. And next to these quick links, we also see these keyboard shortcuts like Ctrl, Shift, 5, 6, and 7. And what I can do now is, by using these quick links, I can basically move magically around the board in an easy and nice way. So you see, I'm just clicking here on these quick links, and with that, I'm just flying around the board, and this is about creating these flying presentations. So if you want to go back now to this other point, I'm just clicking here and then I'm back on this location. Now beside the quick links, there is a link to feature which allows you basically to transform any object you have on your board into a button. And what we see here is, for example, a door which is linked to something else. So I can just click here on this link and then I'm jumping to an external website, for example. For example, the website of our event. And that's really nice because with this link to feature, I can link people directly from here, maybe to another board. So let's imagine you have multiple boards because you're using some of the boards in your breakout rooms. You can create these doors and say to people, hey, click on this door, and you jump immediately to the breakout room. And to add a link, that's quite simple. You just click on the element, then you go as well on these 3 dots. And in this case, you just say link to. And now you can do three things. You can basically select a quick link. You can select an object link. So in this case, you can just select any object on the board, or you can as well paste a URL to an external website, to a document, or whatever. And that's a very powerful feature because it allows you to drive people from this central online whiteboard to many different places. So this is the first of the facilitator tools. It's the quick links and the link to functionality. So we talked a lot about the issue when we have a lot of people on the board that they might not find you, their board are quite big. So there are other facilitator options in Collaboard basically to guide people. And there is something called Get Attention feature. So what I can do here, I can get the attention of people. So let's say I would like now to get the attention of Michael. I can just do here. And if I click on that, now Michael is jumping to the same position as I am on the board. And that's basically something similar you had in a real workshop room by just telling the people, hey, look here. And in this case, we can do this virtually. And now Michael wants to interact with our content. So we see again his mouse pointer. And now we see that he's working on a sticky note. What's really important here, when we use this Get Attention feature, people stay in the interaction mode. So they can always interact with your content. It's just a bring me here option and not a presenting option. The next of the facilitator features we see here is the presentation mode, which is actually different. So the presentation mode is something I can start here, and only facilitators can start the presentation mode. The cool thing about the presentation mode in Collaboard is the following. So when you have a lot of people on the same board and they already loaded the board, we just transmit the coordinates. So it's a way to do a presentation by saving a lot of data. Imagine you are always doing the screen sharing, then sharing the screen consumes much more data just by sending the coordinates on the board. The presentation mode in Collaboard was born out of requirements from teachers and trainers. And this is why when you're in the presentation mode, nobody can interact with the content. So you as the presenter are the only person who can create sticky notes, move content. All the other people follow you. So let me start the presentation mode. So Michael is doing this now. And Albert is following us. So we see now that there is the presentation mode. We see that we have the mouse pointer of Michael. This is now the virtual laser pointer. And as soon as I'm moving around the board, all the other people are following me. So that's the presentation mode. And you see now, here Albert is in read-only mode, which means he can't interact until Michael is stopping the presentation mode. And now he can interact with this as well. I said you before that we have a nice solution to show videos in a remote meeting scenario. And what you can do here is when you start the presentation mode in Collaboard and then you start a video which you uploaded or recorded on the board, it automatically starts for all the participants as well. And it's streamed directly to their devices. This means they see the video always in the best quality and they hear the audio directly through their speakers and not through my microphone and through the Zoom, Teams or whatever session. So they have always the best quality for the video and for the audio. And of course, the presentation mode is some sort of a follow me feature because at the moment when I started, everybody on the board is following me. So it's a very powerful feature and used a lot for trainings, also at universities. And of course, during a meeting and a workshop, it's very convenient because you can really take over and everybody needs to follow on where you are on your whiteboard. Now, the next feature is fairly simple. It's a timer. So imagine you're doing a brainstorming session and you want to limit the time people add ideas, maybe to 5 minutes. Then you have here the option to start a timer. So you can just click here. Now you get a description what you can do. So we skip that and just click on start the timer. And as I'm the facilitator and I started the timer, I have here now some additional options. So I have the option to add time. So let's say I see that people need some more minutes. I can add here 1 minute, or I can also add 5 minutes. I can stop the timer. And of course I can also remove time. So let's say now it's time is almost up. So I can just remove it. And we see now that the timer is counting down. All the other people see that as well. I could stop the timer immediately if I want to do that by just clicking here again. I can pause it. Or when the timer is running out, there is always a very prominent message, like we see now here, that's telling all the attendees, hey, hurry up, we're almost done. So they know, okay, it's time to finalize the last idea and close the brainstorming session. So the timer is very useful in a lot of scenarios and fairly easy to use. Now let's stay with the scenario of the brainstorming. Let's say we have 5 people, everybody adding 10 ideas, so we end up with 50 ideas. Now we need a solution to figure out which idea is the best. And in Collaboard, we have a very sophisticated voting and rating feature. So it allows you to like ideas just with a thumbs up, but it also allows you to do a star rating on ideas. You can combine this voting and rating session directly with the timer. And there is as well the option to archive every voting session. So in the future, you can also see, okay, which idea was considered by the group the best one. To show you how this works, I prepared a small example. So we see here 4 ideas. And I'm starting now a voting session. To do that, I click here on this thumb. Now I can say I want to create a new voting session. So we say new voting. And now I need to decide if I want to do the thumb voting or if I want to do the star rating. So first let's do this voting. We can couple it with the timer and we can define how many votes people should have. So in our case, we just say 3 votes. Then I can invite the people. So all the people who are on my board can basically join the voting session. And as soon as I start it, we see now that we can vote on these elements. So in this case, I like idea 1 very much. I like idea a little bit. And the other 2, I don't care. So I am as the facilitator, I always see what my attendees are doing. So we see that Michael still has 3 votes left. So he's using now these ideas, these votes as well. And now you see this counted down to 0. And Michael also is telling me that he finished the session. So you see now, okay, this user already finished the session. And this allows you to get an overview about how far people are in the voting. And as I'm the facilitator, I can just stop the session by clicking here. And as soon as I click here, then it's stopped. Now to access the results, I just click here again. And now we see, idea 3 got the most votes. And we can now look here at the session details. So we see the date, the duration, how many participants we had in the voting, and we also see that idea 3 got 3 votes, and so on. If I want to share this with the others, I have here the option to just share the results. And in this case, we create a new element on the board, which is telling us now, okay, idea 3 won. And that's basically how you do a voting session in Collaboard. Let's say for our purpose, we would like to rate some things. In this case, we can do it a little bit different. So we just say here a new rating session. Now we switch here to the star. In this case, there is no number of votes, just everybody can give 1 to 5 stars to every element on the board, and then this is used as for the results. So if I start now this star rating session, we see now here that I can now put all my ratings on all the ideas, and Michael is doing this as well, so we get here some data. As I'm the facilitator, I always also see here the results, so on how many votes this result is based. So this is something very useful for me. And in our case now, we see that the voting is done. So Michael is telling me again he finished. So in this case, we see he finished the session, and I'm stopping now the voting. And to access the result, it's the same process like for the rating. I just click here, and now I see, okay, idea 4 was the best. It was rated by 4 stars. And this really helps you being fast to get the opinion of a group on ideas, on tasks. You can use it for prioritizing things. It's a very nice feature. And these are all the facilitator tools we provide you in Collaboard that help you to steer and orchestrate what's happening on the board and to guide your people also when they're new to the technology. Now let's have a look at some best practices when working with Collaboard. First, I want to tell you a little bit more about standard settings we have on the board. So if you click here on the upper right, you see the settings panel, and then you see some default settings. So you can add default settings for nodes, for text, and for connections. So let's say in this case here, we are connecting 2 elements. You see now this connection is maybe not that what I wanted because it's coming from the default settings. In this case, I can click here. I can change that. So let's say that connection tapes would be Bezier. We don't want to have any arrows. We want to have a solid line, and it should be blue. So as soon as I added that, I can start here, and you see these default connections are the default settings are applied immediately. It's also very useful when you want to be consistent with some styling. So let's say all new nodes should be always red, then you can do it like that. And in this case, you can use here this. One big advantage is that you can copy and paste content from an Excel onto Collaboard. And if you do that, nodes are created automatically. And they usually get the default settings from the node, which you can adjust for the color, also for the font, the alignment, and so on. So these default settings help you to speed up the board creation a lot. Now, what's important as well is the zoom level. So when you create a new board, it's usually important that you take care about it. So in Collaboard, you see it here on the upper left. You see at the moment I'm working at 45%. So there, when I zoom in completely, you see now I'm at the zoom level of 400%. And when I zoom out, I can go to a zoom level for 3% or even less, so 1%, because the board in the end is infinite. So let's zoom in again to where we have been before at this 45%. Now, why is the zoom level important? So let's say you prepare an exercise for people to add some ideas with sticky notes. And if I add now a new node, you see it always has the same size. For me, that would be already a little bit small. This is why I recommend for you to work between 60 and 80%. So let's take 70. And if I add now a new node, it already has a very good size. So I can start here immediately. In case you're zoomed in too much and if you add now here a new node, this doesn't really work because it's very, very big. But the more severe problem is the following. So when you're zoomed out, so let's say you prepared everything on this level with 13%. Now somebody is adding a new node, and now you have two kind of users. There are the user who understand, oh, okay, I need to zoom in, and the other, they just say, okay, let's make the node bigger. And when they do that, this node is covering the content of the other attendees as well. So in this case, usually it's important that you take care about the size of new elements. And my recommendation is try to create everything that the content is well usable between 70 and 80% zoom level. When you want to get really fast in creating boards, there is no way about not using keyboard shortcut. So in Collaboard, you can do everything from the menu, but there are also some things where you just are faster by using keyboard shortcuts. And one shortcut is to select multiple objects. So we have here this concept of area selection. And if I'm using an area selection, in this case, I can select now all these elements together. Now to enable and disable the area selection, I can of course go every time to this menu, or I can use this keyboard shortcut R. So you see now here, at the moment, I'm in the interaction mode. So there is just this arrow. And as soon as I click R, you see the icon changes. And now I can select things, and I'm in this area selection mode. The same works for Ctrl-C and Ctrl-V for copy-paste, basically. And what's here really nice is you can also copy-paste elements between different boards. So let's say I want to bring all these elements to another board. I can just open it here. And in this case, via copy-paste, I can bring content from one board to another in an easy and seamless way. Something which is very important when you create a board is that you lock all the elements your attendees should not interact with, because then maybe sometimes they click here and they move it, so you don't want that. Of course, you can go here on these three dots and lock things, or you can just use the keyboard shortcut Ctrl-L to lock elements easily. In Collaboard, we also have a concept of levels, so you can put elements behind or in front of each other, and you can do this here. So by just going on this button here and then send to back. But of course, you can as well use the keyboard shortcuts to do this, like with PNG and page up and page down in a more easy way. Collaboard is also remembering what you are doing. So let's say I'm adding now here a new node. Collaboard knows now that I added the node as the last element. And that's very useful. So imagine you have a brainstorming session, you're firing up one idea after another. Now you can just do a double click on the canvas and you can create a new node. But maybe creating nodes is not your main use cases. Maybe you're doing something different, like wireframing. So using here these elements, and if you do that, Collaboard also remembers now that the last element I added is a square. So if I do a double click, I can now add squares easily without going back to the menu. And these are just a few keyboard shortcuts that are very useful when you work with Collaboard. If you want to learn more about keyboard shortcuts, you can just click here on the upper right on the help. Then you're redirected to our online help. In this case, just put in here shortcut, and then you will find a list of all the shortcuts available in Collaboard. So let's get back to this board. And let's see how we can organize now our projects. What's important for you to know is in Collaboard, project equals board. So every board is one project. And to organize things, we provide you two concepts. The first concept is called spaces, and the second concept is called tags. So I'm leaving now this board or project just by clicking here on the Collaboard icon. And now I'm in my, let's say, main screen where I see all my projects. So this user already has some spaces, and a space basically is a room where you can add people and projects. So in our case, it's like this. So we see here we have multiple admins of this space, and we can add here new users if we want to do that. If I create now a new board, and if I'm moving this board now into a space, which I can do here. So let's put this board into webinars, into the space webinars. And what's happening now is that all the people who are part of this space automatically have access to this board. We have seen at the beginning that I can invite people by email or just by sharing a link. And usually you do this when you organize a workshop. But let's say you're working with your team and you're doing every week a retro meeting and you want to create a new board for every retro meeting. In this case, it's much more convenient to use the space feature because you can just add the people to the space, and all the projects you create in this space are immediately available to all the people. It's also very handy to remove users. So let's say I'm removing here Michael from this space, then he also loses all the access to these boards, and that can be much more easy than just removing the permissions from each board individually. So this is one way how you can organize your organization or your boards here directly in Collaboard. And the other option is that you can tag things. So here you have the option to add a tag, and this is one of our boards here where I would like to add a tag. So I'm just giving me here the ownership. I think I need to reload to get the ownership. Okay, now when I'm the owner of a project, I can add here tags. And in our case, this is a webinar. It's in English. So I can use these tags then afterwards also to filter the list of projects. And with spaces and with tags, I have two options to basically really organize my work in Collaboard on a project level. Let's jump back to our main board. So we have seen how we can organize projects. And the last thing I would like to show you here is that there is an option in the settings that you can enable a dark mode, something I really like in Collaboard, but you can also change the background colors, so based on your needs. And the best practice here is the following. So let's say you have a lot of breakout boards, then you can use different colors. You have a group on the blue board, a group on the green board, and so on. So let's jump back to our original settings. And in the last minutes now of our webinar, we will have a look at some examples of onboarding and icebreaker exercises. Everything I'm going to show you now is part of Collaboard. So we have here this set of templates. And in the templates, you'll find a category called icebreaker and warm-up. And everything I'm showing you now, you find it here, so you can use this straight away out of the box. So what I really like to do is to use a thesis. So you see here these values like I fully agree to the thesis or I don't agree to that. And that's very useful because you can do an onboarding exercise and using a thesis that's maybe already related to the content of your workshop or your webinar. So you can use this as an entry, and basically there are two ways how you can do that. So the first way is that people can add sticky notes with their names. In this case, you know who answered what, and the other way is, for example, that you can work with shapes. So let's say here we take the ape, and the ape doesn't agree fully with the thesis, so we can use it like that. What's important here, of course, everything that's related to the thesis is locked. Participants can't change that, but it's a nice way to start a workshop also in the digital world. Another onboarding exercise that's quite cool, it's called Where Are You From? So basically you upload a map from the regions of where your people are from. So let's say in our case, we have people from all over the world, so we can add here, of course, as well, a world map. But of course, if all the people are from the United States or from Australia, maybe you just add a map of your continent or country. And now the exercise works quite easily. So you have here this country, and now people can add sticky notes, write on their name, and say, hey, where am I from? And you see him here, it's not really optimized for the Zoom level. It's just for the demo purposes. Of course, when you use this onboarding exercise, you should as well take care about the Zoom level. So you can do this with sticky notes. That's one way. What I really like to do is to do this also with selfies. So in Collaboard, there is an option to take pictures with the integrated camera, or if you have famous people, and that's always a good joke, you can just go on this image search for yourself. And if you're, let's say, famous or just very well indexed at Google, you can just drag and drop your image and put it from where you're from. The nice thing about this onboarding exercise is that it's unrelated to the workshop content at all. So also if people make mistakes at the beginning, that's completely irrelevant. And when you onboard people to new technology, doing this in a more playful way is useful, because then they are less stressed, and you can tell them, hey, okay, this is just the onboarding. We will start with the real workshop when we all mastered these simple activities. Mood parameter is also something nice. So you get the mood of your attendees. It works quite similar, like adding notes or shapes, basically, to display how you feel at the moment. What I want to tell you here is that you can add emojis to Collaboard. So if you copy and paste an emoji from another website, or there are some emoji libraries, you can use any emoji directly on the board. They are stored as text. So in this case, you can also speed up the emoji, underline it, put it italic, and so on. So this depends then a little bit on how you want to use that. But in the end, emojis are stored as text objects on Collaboard itself. The last onboarding game I would like to show you today is the drawing game. So it also works quite simple. So every participant is taking here a box, and then he or she has some of these circles. There are some examples, and then it's about using the drawing tools in Collaboard to create something creative. And it also works very well with the mouse. It's even better because it's more challenging for the people. And we have seen a lot of funny pictures using this circle drawing game. And the idea is here as well, you do something at the beginning of your workshop or maybe in the middle, just to do a fun exercise before bringing people into the real topic of the workshop again. Now, what's next? I added here this blue door. So to see what's next, we will go through this blue door together. And what I'm doing here in this case, we're opening a new board, basically. And you have now two options. Basically, you can book an expert talk with me. So my name's Michael. I work for IBV, which is a Swiss software company. And 5 years ago, we founded Collaboard. And in this last 5 years, we helped a lot of organizations and companies starting with this solution. If you're on LinkedIn, you can now take your mobile phone, just scan this QR code and connect with me. We're doing a lot of posts about collaboration, online whiteboards, and so on. If you want to try out yourself what you have seen today, we offer a 14-day free trial. You will find it on our website, and we will create a follow-up email after this session, so you can find there then a link to start the trial. Yes, and all that said, we are at the end of our webinar. So thank you very much for your time and your interest. And now we end the official part and we open up the discussion. So if you have questions, let me know. You can unmute yourself, ask the question in the chat. So I'm here for you to help you with Collaboard. And just to let you know, we also stopped the recording. So this part now